Hey y'all, hey, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Sacred and Profane podcast. It's Neftara Grace. All right, for real, I'm not gonna hold you. I wasn't trying to do an episode, but this what we doing, okay? I was actually just sitting here talking to God, talking to Spirit, whichever, however, and I was asking questions, and God said, "You should just do it. Go ahead and do the. Go ahead and Neftara, press record, and let the people listen in to what we're gonna talk about. It's gonna be juicy, cause I got questions and I'm on one, okay?" But we're gonna get this party started the way y'all know we get the party started, with a couple rooms. Let's get some rooms out here. I'm gonna throw cards because I'm in a personal conversation with Spirit and y'all are listening in, okay? So this is your warning for this episode. If you don't want to hear me pull cards, if you don't want to hear me go in and chop it up with God, get off the podcast, okay? We got Sowulo for Sun, the solar chariot. I got questions and God got answers. I'm getting them today. Uruz for power. Berkana for birth, and Hagalaz for transformation. See, something's happening. And this is why I'm sitting here talking to God, and God said to y'all come listen in. Because something is happening. And there's no sign of it. But I heard it. See, whatever is about to pop off here on earth, it's already done happened in the other realms. I heard it, man, months ago. I heard something happen, and I've been waiting to see it catch up on this timeline right here. But it's about to. It's about to. Okay. Holy Spirit, Archangel Spirit, guides, gods, and goddesses, legions, light. Thank you for protecting me as I channel messages for this tribe, this beautiful collective of souls. Thank you for telling us what we need to know and showing us what we need to see in these cards tonight. Thank you for the messages, very concise messages for the collective. So it is because it is so. Berkana, Uruz, Sowulo, Hagalaz. This fast is fuck. This is Eight of Swords energy. This is Tower energy. You got a lightning strike. You got power. You got something that is born of power. It's like it's not been seen before. But let me bring y'all to my conversation. Let's talk about what I'm talking about. I'm trying to figure out the Great Commission. Well, let me give you background. I grew up in church. Give you further background. Every time the doors was open, we was there. Let me give you further background. I was a leader in a Christian church for decades, of more than one department, in more than one church, more than one denomination. Let me know when I can stop. I went to Christian school. I went to Christian college. I have over 14 years of seminary study under my belt. So when I say I'm talking to God, or I want to talk to God, I want to talk about God, I'm not just a guy in the diner. I have an actual relationship, okay? So I was talking to God about the Great Commission, and here's why. Well, I'm gonna tell y'all my business. I told you I'm on one side. We take the kids to Taekwondo at a church. It's cute. I love participating in the community. Regardless, I just like being in my community. Sometimes I participate with churches because they're also in the community. This is one of those times. So my kids go to Taekwondo at a church. A couple weeks ago, the sensei was absent. He had a personal matter to attend to. There was a guest speaker, and the guest speaker chose to talk to the children about. It was interesting. Let me put it like this: the guest speaker chose to have a conversation with the kids about Jesus, in which he stated that they were too young to understand the choices they were making right now. And then he proceeded to ask the adults in the room not only if they had a relationship with Jesus, but he asked the adults to also, let me put it like this. I grew up in a Christian conversation where there was something called an altar call, okay? Where you get to the end of the service and the preacher says, "Do you know Jesus? It's an opportunity to give your heart to Christ. Bow your heads, close your eyes. Romans 10:9-10. If you know, you know." That's how I grew up, okay? And this particular invitation, which was directed to children. Okay, this is a youth right? It was as an adult who's been in and around the church my whole life, it was the most uncomfortable altar call I've ever experienced. And I've experienced a lot of fucked up altar calls. And I mean that shit. I've been to revivals, tent meetings, y'all. I don't like, I've been, listen, I've been fascinated by this since I was a child. When I was a kid, I didn't know any better. So I just went to, I'm like, I want to go to that church. I went to every church. I tried every religion. That's how I came in. That's how God made me. God made me curious, and God designed me to seek Him no matter where He was. God made me so that no matter what language was spoken, I would still recognize Him. Okay. So I'm not into denominations. I don't do religion like that. I don't have to. That's not how I was made. Okay. It's not my path. So instead of saying, do you know Jesus? If you don't and you'd like to, this is a time, to speak with your parents, which would have been appropriate. Or, you can talk to me after class, whatever. He proceeded to say, adults, if you are a Christian and you XYZ, 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 raise your hand. And it was tough. Now, I did not raise my hand. And if you know me, you know why I didn't raise my hand. I love Jesus more than y'all. Y'all can't understand. Y'all don't know about me and y'all don't know. Y'all don't know. But I'm not a Christian. Jesus is my best friend, my brother. Y'all are literally listening in on a conversation I'm having with God right now. I do not consider myself a Christian. And neither God nor Jesus says that I have to. Okay? They're not caught up in what I call myself. What they focus on is the state of my heart, my intentions, my motives. Are they pure or not? That's the Jesus I know and have a relationship with, and that's the God I serve. That's the type of time we own over here. Okay? So I'm sitting here talking to God about this because that was a couple weeks ago. We had Taekwondo again today, and I was like, that was a guest speaker. I might not ever see that man again. And some of the parents who come are Christian. Maybe some of them are not. Maybe some of them are like me. I don't know. You know why? Because it's a personal relationship with Jesus. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So anyway, I'm sitting here talking to God, and I'm like, and this where y'all we about to go back. Okay, so anyway, like I was saying, there is this whole world, this narrative in Christianity, like the Great Commission is what we're supposed to be doing. Because I'm sitting here going like, why was this guy even talking to kids like this? Like, if you're an adult Bible study and you want to question someone's relationship with Christ, go for that. But you in a kids Taekwondo, let's not do this right here. Okay. Um, but why? Why this? And I started thinking, well, I come from an evangelical background. Like I grew up non-denom, evangelical, Holy Spirit, all of it. Speaking in tongues, y'all call it light language now. It's all good. Say, I listen. I am clear from my own experience. God is real. Jesus is real. That's not what we're talking about. That's not the point. The point is the Great Commission. See, the Bible has the Great Commission written a certain way. And then there's the way that we interpret the Great Commission. And I'm thinking about this because I have a new friend. I know I said I was not doing new friends, but I have a new friend, y'all. It's taken some months. I've known her for a while, but it takes time to make friends as adults. Anyway, she grew up as a missionary. So we're like the same age now. And she grew up as a missionary. So although she considers herself Christian, she does subscribe to a particular denomination. Her experience of me and my experience of her is unique because this American Christian woman grew up in a foreign country as a missionary's child. So she just has a different context, right? Just for all of it. And all of that got me thinking about the Great Commission, that part where, he says, go ye into the world and spread the good news, spread the gospel, make ye, And it's like, that's so beautiful and it's very charismatic and it's very inspiring. And I think about the intention and motives that Jesus had because Jesus is always talking to me about my intentions and motives. Okay. And it's always struck me that the intention and motive that Yeshua or Sananda or Jesus, whatever name you prefer, had when he said those words was to have the people who had seen his life go out and let people know what they had seen. And specifically that they had seen someone living an extraordinary life. They had seen someone with the same set of circumstances as every single one of them, rising above and living something they didn't have this term. I don't know, I wasn't there, but what we would call a high vibrational life during a time that was anything but. Okay, don't forget, the times of Jesus is the time of Roman occupation of Jerusalem. Rome has occupied the Holy Land. There are foreigners in Jesus' hometown. They're collecting taxes. They're tearing down old buildings because King Herod was king. Well, they say he was king, but he was still he was a king that Rome left in place. Okay. Rome was very strategic and smart when they took provinces. They would leave leadership in place, just make the leadership, loyal to them. So King Herod, whoever's king can still collect all their taxes, but a portion goes to Rome now. And that's just how they did. Rome was very smart. And that's anyway, I digress. We're not doing history. Not yet, not yet. But it is history, right? It is history. So this is really important to understand. We talked about context a while ago. Don't forget, your context gives you your thoughts, feelings, and actions. When you can imagine that you living in your hometown, the place that you know and love, your friends, your school, everything's right there, and then this outside foreign army invades overnight, changes your way of life. The way you do business is different. The way you do everything is different. Everything is different now. It would be very challenging. Historically, we've seen this happen in times of war. We saw it happen between World War One and World War Two, and we saw it happen to the world when we allowed this experience of, gosh, we've just been defeated in battle. What can we do? We have nothing left to live for. We might as well fill in the blank. That's when Jesus comes on the scene. You've got to understand that. People were not sitting in the park having a motherfucking picnic when he showed up. They were trying to figure out how to live their life. Everything had been changed. The world that their ancestors and parents knew, it was no more. They have a new ruler called Rome. And Rome does things differently. See, we're talking about a Jewish culture that since the times of the Old Testament have been told that they can't commingle with any other religious groups. Please don't forget that. In the Old Testament, Yahweh told his people, leave the Canaanites alone, leave the Cushites alone. I did ancestry DNA. I got Cush in my blood. Shit. The Old Testament is literally the story of Yahweh telling his people to either leave my people alone or kill them all. I'm just going to be real with you. That's the Old Testament. Then Jesus comes and says, hey, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Okay? We're not doing that anymore. Slave, free, man, woman, boy, girl, old, young, rich, poor. We all coming together now. That's what happened. Please understand that was dangerous. That was seditious talk during that time. To tell people that they were all equal was paramount to treason. If you can't understand it, I don't know what to tell you. This is history. See, back in those times, there was Rome and there was Rome. Okay? And if you weren't Rome, you weren't fucking shit. citizens of Rome had a coin they carried, and they could travel anywhere in the known world, anywhere, because they were Roman citizens. And Rome had conquered that much of the known world. If a Roman citizen was in another province, let's say Asia, okay, and something happened, all they had to do was produce their coin that identified them as a citizen of Rome, and it was like having diplomatic immunity. They weren't going to be punished, arrested, none of that shit, because that country knew that if they handled that Roman citizen the wrong way, the entire heat of Rome would be on their ass, and didn't nobody want that. So please, this was not a walk in the park. Jesus didn't show up to Sunday dinner. Jesus came into a world that was ripped apart by war. His conversations about we're all the same, we're all united, we're all free, that was seditious, treasonous talk. To a loyal citizen of Rome, nothing was more dangerous. Rome existed on class and caste. You were born high or you were born low. And that's the way the world works. And that's what Romans believed. That's how they ran their society. Those who were highborn held positions of leadership and authority. Those who were lowborn worked the hard, menial tasks that the highborn were never going to do. Sound familiar? That was Rome. If you were lucky, when the Romans invaded your country, they killed you if you were lucky. If you weren't lucky, they captured you alive and you got brought back to Rome, paraded through the streets as a prisoner of war, and either sent to the Colosseum to fight in the games or sent to be broken in as a slave. The only exceptions were the children of royalty. When Romans took a country, took another province, they killed the king and queen, but they would spare their children. They'd bring those children back to Rome and they'd raise them as Romans. And then when the children came of age, they would send those same children back to rule their own country, but not as their ancestors did, as Roman leaders now. Master strategists. Slowly killing off ancestral bloodlines of leadership and power around the world. Right up until modern times. Right up until now. But somehow we took, I don't know, Jesus said, go ye into the world, preach the good news. Well, we all know the gospel means good news. What was the good news? The good news was that no matter who you are, no matter where you are, if you will look beyond your physical existence, you will see that you are free. And there's nothing anybody can do to stop you. And if you choose to live in that world where you are free, there's nothing that you can't do, including die and come back to life. That's what he said, and then that's what he did. Okay, that was the message, that was the action. I know people get confused about it. I don't know how or why it's not confusing. That's what the man said, and then that's what the man did. I'm not confused about the whole thing. People are, I don't know why. Okay. But that's not what happened. See, the first disciples and apostles, they're like, oh my God, yes, we're going to tell everybody because this is so fucking amazing. You know why? Because so many of us are slaves and we're poor, and this would be a game changer. We will never know how many Christians died in the pits of the Colosseum. We won't know. The early church, we will never know how many people from the early church were savagely murdered, beaten, disappeared, just because they believed in something that they saw with their own eyes. Y'all got to get what I'm saying. The first church has saw it with their own eyes. It wasn't hearsay. See, whatever you whatever you believe in is hearsay. It wasn't hearsay for them. They was there. They saw that shit. They saw that foot grow, that person get up and walk. They saw that blind person see. They heard that person can hear now. They saw that shit. So when he said, go let everybody know that life is more than just the physical one you see. There's a deeper spiritual life. God is real. And if you will cultivate yourself spiritually, if you will pay attention and develop yourself spiritually, if you'll take care of yourself spiritually as much as you take care of yourself physically, then when it comes time to die, you won't have anything to be worried about because you will have already trained yourself on how to live a spiritual life. You won't be dying, getting rid of your physical body, and then for the first time checking out your spiritual body, scared that won't happen to you. If you'll engage your spiritual self now, when you finally do die physically, it'll be like that, like a dream, fast, no big deal. Come back if you want to. You'll have mastered it. Practice now. I have this big tattoo on my right shoulder. Jesus Christ is the victory, and it's in Greek. It's the Greek cross in Greek. People say, what is that? Like it's a cross. They freak out. You have a cross? Oh my God, don't forget. I wear a lot of black skulls, you know. A cross. Oh my God. Well, look, you know why Jesus Christ is the victory is tattooed on my arm? Because Jesus Christ proved to me that death is not the end. Jesus Christ proved that we have victory over death. And my personal life is proof that I have victory over everything thanks to my relationship with Jesus. Y'all know I rep all these gods and goddesses, but I'm talking about Jesus today, okay? And I'm talking about Jesus because this is important. Jesus is one of the most critical beings for you to know. And I know a lot of gods and goddesses. You need to know Jesus, okay? Like that, that's what you need to know. Now, check this out. I'm not religious. I'm not Christian. I don't do altar calls. I'm just saying, you know how you want to make a connection? That's what you want to connect to. That's what you need to know in the world of who you need to know Jesus. Now, that being said, this great commission, go ye into the world, preach the gospel, make new disciples. This was supposed to be make disciples. This was supposed to be share the good news with people so they stop being afraid to live their life too. Share the good news so they get inspired to go live their best life too. Share the good news so they choose a high vibrational life too. But somehow along the way, the Great Commission became the Magna Carta for colonization. And that's what I and God are talking about. Okay? Now you caught up. I'm over here in the throne room trying to figure out how the Great Commission became the Magna Carta for colonization. It is the scripture that Christians stand on to take themselves to another country, insert their beliefs into someone else's culture, much like the Roman Church did to the Jewish people during the time of Jesus. And it's sanctioned and is considered behavior that's acceptable, but it crosses boundaries. As we finally begin to sit with the true impact, the legacy of colonization, it crosses, it's not okay. And given the times that Jesus was showing up, I don't believe that he sent people to go do to others what Rome had done to his people. I don't believe that. Jesus showed how to live in concert with these new energies. Remember the whole, you got to pay your taxes. You're out here, you're not even working, you got to pay your taxes. So Jesus, finds the money in the fish's mouth, he pays his taxes. He demonstrated, okay, listen, I'm not here to subvert the system. I'm just here to tell you, you don't have to be a prisoner to it. That's the good news. That's the good news. And if people are out here spreading that truth, whatever they saying, it ain't worth listening to. And that's on spirit. If it's not about you are free, you're not stuck in the system, you are. And this, listen, don't get me started, y'all. Let me flip these cards. Anyway, tell me about, because people out here just take it, you know what I'm saying? And that's what be getting me. It's like, how you gonna come take something in the name of a God who would never do what you doing? It seemed to me like y'all be saying Jesus and all this and that, but what y'all really did, ooh, Lord, what y'all really did was see somebody about to get their feelings hurt out here. Y'all remember they went to Pilate and Pilate said Jesus didn't do anything wrong. Even according to Roman law, Jesus hadn't done anything wrong. But don't forget, it was the Jewish leaders, it was his own people that sold him out to Rome. Because Jesus hadn't committed a crime according to Jewish law either. But the Pharisees and the Sadducees wanted him gone so bad, they went to Pilate, the Roman governor, the Roman consulate governor of the area, and said, listen, this guy is causing a problem. Pilate said, he's not my problem. He's not a Roman citizen. You go handle him. We tried, we can't, but he's turning people against Rome. He's saying that they're all equal and free, and you know they're so okay. Pilate's like, all right, well, but people know they're not free, so I mean, who cares what he tells them? Shit. I mean, they know they got to go to work tomorrow, right? What's the big deal? That was his attitude. The religious people wouldn't leave it alone. No, but we're just trying to. We're loyal to Rome, and we think everybody else should be loyal to Rome too. What if people start? It was fuckery at its finest. Please understand. Please understand. I can't. I feel like this the whole reason God wanted y'all to listen to it. Because I'm like, why we had to? I was talking to you. I'm gonna talk to them. But no offense, y'all. But I feel like I'm about to say why he wanted y'all to listen. I say he, but you know he's the thing anyway. Because his father, mother, God. Anybody had just one parent anyway. The message that there's life outside of this system, that you're not trapped to just your physical experience, that there's more than what you see, that you're more than just a human. That bumper sticker, you're a spiritual being having a human experience, that's from Jesus. That's what Jesus proved to us, okay? So it really chaps my ass that the very group who reps his name, Jesus, says they're spreading the gospel, does everything but let people know they fucking free. What the fuck is that shit about? That you gotta lead with that. In a world that's broken, where people are suffering and literally starving and they don't know where they're, you gotta lead with the good part. You gotta lead with it. I'm telling you, Christians are struck because they out here telling people the bad part first. Why would you do that? I told my kids, because you know we don't go to church and they know Jesus and we talk about it, and I say, look, Jesus is somebody that you know or you don't. It is Jesus is not someone that you get scared into. And I hate that shit. I hate when people objectify him like that, right? Like he's this thing. Like Christians be acting like Jesus is the boogeyman. I'm gonna call everybody. We go all the way down to motherfucking Matt. Acting like Jesus the boogeyman. You better be careful, or Jesus is gonna get you. You don't Jesus like no, Jesus is not Santa Claus and he's not the boogeyman. That's not what's happening. He's an actual person who deified here on earth, dove, water, voice, sun, well please, that part, then died and resurrected, not an object, a real person, okay, who actually knew what he was talking about, who actually knew what he was doing, who was about the business. We don't have to make up words for him. We don't have to put words in his mouth. We don't have to translate what he said. Nope, none of that is necessary. He said, these works you see me do, greater works will you do. Didn't come to condemn it, came so that it could have life more abundantly. The good news is there's more to life. That's the good news. The good news, listen now, if you're not offended, I'm about to offend you. If you've been listening, you about to stop. The good news is not that Jesus died for your sins. That's not the good news. That's not the good news. The good news is when you take your eyes off the physical plane, you recognize there's more to you than meets the eye. You are a spiritual person. And when you do that, that's when you're free. That's when you're free. And you want support in learning how to walk in that freedom, maintain that freedom. That is what the personal relationship with Jesus is for. Walking in freedom, walking in light, walking in love, maintaining that frequency in a world full of chaos, conflict, and struggle. That's what he proved with his life and his death. That's what he makes available to us through personal relationships, is this one-on-one support that really helps you and empowers you to live your best life, even when things are really fucking shitty. Because that's what he did. Ladies and gentlemen, there is nothing else going on. This is why we celebrate Jesus. This is why we praise his name. This is why he's exalted, because he chose to be an example. It's not that he did something that we can't do. That's bullshit. He did something that we can do. He showed us how to do it. I'm not done pissing you off yet. And what he didn't do, I gotta go for it because you in my conversation with God. What he didn't do was go to work all day. And he didn't go to church on Sundays. None of that is what he showed you how to do. If you don't know what Jesus showed you how to do, go read your Bible. Jesus showed you what to do. And what it looked like is get up, check in with your crew, make sure your homies are good. Y'all gather up, get some breakfast, make sure everybody eat, and then roll out. When y'all roll out, you're looking for a couple things. You're looking for people who might need food. They might be hungry. You're looking for people who are like, who just really need some connection. They may need support of some kind of way. They may need help with something. You're looking for how you can engage your community and participate in your community that day. That is what Jesus showed us. When people ask you questions, you answer them directly. You speak truth with compassion. That's what Jesus showed us. That's what he showed us. Anything else was made up by a person that is not Jesus and then addended, like an addendum to a contract, addended to the faith. The faith of what? The faith of the gospel. Well, what's the gospel? Well, that we're more than just humans. And once we recognize that, we're free. See, you don't understand because if you were alive back then and you were a slave, this good news would have been good news for you. I actually had the pleasure about 20 years ago of reading. Over the years, I've read a lot of scrolls, Dead Sea Scrolls. It's just, I love ancient texts and anything historical artifact wise. So they keep, for a long time, they're uncovering scrolls. Anyway, 20 years ago, I had the pleasure of reading this scroll that had been translated, and it was the account of a slave. He had come, I forget his origin country. It was near Greece, but he wasn't Greek, but he was I don't know. His name was Onesimus, and he was very attractive, um, physically, but he also, I think, had a good heart. And so when Rome came and took his city, his province, he was not killed. Something about him was, I guess, remarkable enough. He was enslaved. They didn't send him to the pits. I think they said he was too beautiful. Okay. You know how Romans. They said he was too beautiful for the pits, so they sent him to be a slave. And they figured he'd make a good slave because he was so handsome that one of the Roman authorities would definitely have him into his home. And he did. He was very attractive, but also, again, just a person who had a good personality. You can tell from the scroll, the way they account for his personage. He is a good man. He's just a good man. And so he got into a Roman house as a slave, and the owner ended up falling in love with him. And he ended up falling in love with the owner. Very, very interesting. Okay. Now, uh, we're not here to talk about this slave Onesimus. The point is, if you had been a slave back then, hearing and understanding and being able to know and grasp that you're more than just your physical body and what happens to it, that you have a spiritual person, you're a spiritual person, and listen very carefully. And as a spiritual person, you are sovereign and free. That's a game changer. See, in modern Christianity, because you walk around with a false sense of freedom, you easily sell your soul to the idea of religion. You do the opposite of what Jesus intended. Jesus intended for you to take your shackles, take your binds, take everything that's stopping you and holding you back in the physical realm and release it in the spiritual realm so your soul flies free, connects with source itself. You receive downloads from source itself. And then in the words of Jesus, greater works you do. That's the game plan. That's the OG plan, okay? But that's not what's happening. Right now, the opposite is happening. Because you feel like now you're not free. I'm gonna break it to you. I said, you getting triggered tonight, baby. You are not free, but you think you're free. You feel like you're physically free. So that's what drives you to latch on to the fuckery that is religion. It's like because you feel free, you have to look for something to chain yourself up to. You are looking for something to enslave your consciousness to because you believe the lie that you're free. Once you get that you live in a construct, I don't care if you call it the matrix or what, but once you get that your ass is tethered to a fucking program, that's when you gonna start to pick up what we laying down right here, and that is this. Your physical body, as long as it's here, it ain't free. It ain't free. Your spirit is, but not this. So if there's something you want to develop, if there's something that you want to grow, if there's a part of you that I highly recommend it be your spiritual person because that's what's free. I'm gonna pause here. We're gonna have to dig deeper because some questions are coming up. Okay, I can hear people, your brains are rattling. Here's how I want you to think of it. If you've dealt with depression and anxiety, that's proof that you're not mentally free. Physically, you're not free. To be physically incarnated is to be in a skin suit that is connected to an etheric tether to the planet. Okay, if you struggle with this, look up the scientific research that can measure a soul leaving someone's body when they die. There's a reason why when your soul, you can't see it, but we can weigh it now. We now have the science. We have the technology. We can weigh your soul. We can weigh it when it leaves. We can weigh your body before you die and after you die and account for how much your soul weighs. We've done that science. Okay. That's all that's proven. That's facts. See, as long as you are working that body you're in, you ain't free. Can you hear what I'm trying to tell you? Your body is a vehicle itself that is directly connected to the planet. When your spirit leaves your body, it goes back to the planet. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Why y'all think like y'all know what I'm talking about? Now your spirit is free. It can go do whatever it want to do. That's the good news. If you don't think that's good news, I don't know what to tell you. Imagine you're a slave. Average lifespan 27, 23 if you're a woman. And that's because women died a lot in childbirth back then. Okay. And they were also just attacked. Not unlike today, but it was the violence against women uh, has diminished some. Notice how I said that. Some. So 23 if you're a woman, 27 if you're a man during this time. And so you're born, you're born and you die, right? But if you're born and you become a slave, that's your whole life. No hope. You can't live that way. Here's how I know 86% of Americans are on antidepressants. So you're not able to live that way. You don't have the capacity to live like a slave. Just showing up to work, you could be putting your ass into a depression and shit. Paying your bills make your ass anxious. You couldn't be a slave, but you are. But you are. But you are. So I'm stuck on this colonization with the Great Commission. Somehow they done took the words of one of the most brilliant people in history and turned it into kind of like, what do they call that? A search warrant from God. Like, this Great Commission gives us the right to enter into your country at any time we want and question all your citizens about their faith and what they believe in. And if we see anybody or any activity that seems suspicious or not what we expect, we reserve the right to change it immediately. And that's what happened. Whether you call it colonization, evangelizing, proselytizing, spreading the gospel, saving souls, fulfilling the Great Commission, being a missionary, being led by Christ. I don't care what the hell you call it. It still doesn't honor the intentions of the man who spoke the words originally. Unless you are out there letting people know they are more than their bodies, the trauma that happened to their bodies, the jobs they go to that they hate, the relationships that they don't want to be in, but they can't figure how to get out of. Unless you can tell people that there's more to them than that, you are not spreading the gospel, you are not fulfilling the Great Commission, and you are colonizing, but you're doing it for evil. I said it, and I'm leaving it there. Listen, thanks for joining me for another episode of the Sacred and Profane podcast. I know you were triggered. That's my intention always. Okay? As always, trust yourself, trust your process, trust your path, and trust your purpose. Peace.